I love it. How beautiful and inviting and welcoming. And the flower baskets, just too much. Good afternoon, my lovelies. It's Sinead here. I'm actually at the top of Marble Arch. Today I want to kind of explore the area of Marylebone, which gets its name from St. Mary's Church, which was on the Bourne. On the Bourne meaning the Tyburn. The Tyburn River, it would have been on the banks of the river. So that's where the name comes from. So Marylebone is a very bougie, village-like atmosphere, only literally 10 minutes away from Oxford Street. Today's going to feature art galleries, artisan bakeries, stunning shopping, an incredible bookstore, one of the most famous bookstores in the UK. And we're going to go all the way as far as Baker Street. There's going to be Love's Lost, poetry, music, art, everything you need in one tour. Oh, to be able to afford to live here. Come and join me and we'll see this amazing little area. Do you know what? It's so funny. I know where I'm going in London, but sometimes I'm a bit weird with the names of the streets. We'll figure it out in a second, but we're going to take a little detour in just a minute. Now, this street ahead of us, sorry, this is Edgware Road. What is wrong with me today? So this is fabulous Middle Eastern cuisine, you guys. Shisha bars, wonderful Lebanese restaurants. We'll get a little glimpse of it shortly, but I'm going to take a little detour down here into Connaught Square. Now, Connaught is named after the Earl of Connaught. He was the Earl of Connaught from 1805 to 1834. He was the last Duke of Gloucester and Edinburgh, so a member of the royal family. So that's where it gets its name, Connaught Square. Now we're taking a little detour down here. Sometimes I wander off into these paths. I've never been down myself before. So these are beautiful. This is a very typical Georgian style neighborhood. All the houses are, the architecture would be particularly Georgian, but exceptionally wealthy down here. Tony Blair lives here actually, and his wife Cherie. He was a former Prime Minister of the UK. He bought a beautiful house down here for 3.5 million, I believe. Look down there, those little mews houses, the courtyards. I mean, these silent small back streets. Now, 2 minutes away, we're probably at one of the busiest parts of central London. Look how quiet it is here. Isn't it wonderful? This is one of these key gardens as well, where you have exclusive gardens to the residents of the neighbourhood, accessible only by key. And we see that quite a lot in neighbourhoods around London. Now, today's tour is going to take us up towards some of the greatest and grandest estates that still stand to this day. But look at this beautiful little neighbourhood, you guys. Literally in central London. And it's so lovely and quiet. 3.5 million doesn't seem too excessive. Mind you, they bought their house for that, so I'm assuming the property price has doubled, tripled, quadrupled. Most former prime ministers have a policeman outside their front door. That used to be the case with Eaton Square anyway. That's where Margaret Thatcher lived. Look at this. Let's have a quick look over here. But we will look at these beautiful gardens. So, but I can't imagine you'd sunbathe in there though. Right, so this is the beautiful Connaught Square, and up here we've got the High Street, and this is where you're going to get amazing shopping. Look at that house, you guys. I mean, really, how house proud is this beautiful owners of this house? That is just stunning. Found an amazing little Instagram spot there. Isn't that just? I love it. How beautiful and inviting and welcoming. And the flower baskets, just too much. Now, this is the village area, and look for this bunting on the streets. I mean, you literally could be in a small town outside of London. And this is some gorgeous bakeries, amazing shopping, very unique boutiques. Got a lot of cafes and gorgeous little restaurants. But this is what London's all about. And when you find these places, you truly see a different side to London. Beyond the Oxford streets and the craziness of Piccadilly and Leicester Square. Look at this. Kitchens. Just want to show you how pretty it is along here. So you got a massive amount of the, obviously this area, Middle Eastern community come down. Look at Elizabeth Jane Howell. So these, it's a bit gritty and glam, isn't it, you guys? Well, look at that. Look, take out London's most authentic empanadas. I've got to get my butt to Mexico because I absolutely love everything about Mexican food. So you see these lovely home furnishing stores, the beautiful florists along here, Persian cuisine. Yeah, I've heard quite a bit about that one actually. This gorgeous little place known as Connaught Village. Now Connaught is spelled C-O-N-N-A-U-G-H-T. It's actually an Irish. It's one of the provinces of Ireland. So you have Munster, Ulster, Leinster and Connaught. So Connaught would be the west of Ireland, Leinster is the east of Ireland, Munster is where I'm from, the south of Ireland, and Ulster, you'll be familiar with, is the north of Ireland. Now, I guess this is one of the most famous pubs in the area. It's a beautiful place to get a nice little glass of wine or a drink or a gin. So you could effectively spend the day down here, actually. And on a beautiful day like today, we'll get a lovely view of it now. I'll show you exactly where we are. This place is quite famous as well. This boxcar place is supposed to do the most amazing croissants and cronuts. Everybody comes here for their morning coffee and dessert. If you lived in this neighborhood, boxcar. And we have it. This lovely area. Now there's a lot of construction work going on down there, so I'm trying to avoid that side. But that's going to take us down to one of the great estates in London, the Portman Estate and Portman Square. But this just gives you a little feel of how pretty the neighborhood is. I mean, I apologize about the construction in behind us, but look at this gorgeous street. Isn't this just so pretty? Now they do lovely farmers market down here. Look at the cheesemongers. I'm actually going to bring you into a really cool cheesemongers later on. It's a brilliant, beautiful delicatessen on Marylebone High Street, and they have a room designed to cheese, for cheese specifically, and it's actually kind of a walk-in refrigerator. But I wouldn't recommend it for anyone that doesn't like the smell of pungent cheeses, because it's all blue cheese and Stilton and, oh my God, so many of the real smelly ones. Personally, I love anything that smells like it's gone off. I think it's divine. One friend of mine, Maureen, certainly doesn't. She can't even bear the smell of Parmesan. If I ever had to punish her, I'll just lock her into the room. I'll show you later on. Chapter Hotels. Now, we're going to head straight down here. Going to make our way towards Portman Square. And that is going to bring us down to Manchester Square. And I think we're going to have a little browse around the Wallace Collection. More on that to come shortly. But look at this glorious day. How beautiful is it? So everything looks good in London when the weather's good. So tell me where you're all watching from, by the way. I'm always curious to know. I know I have a lot of viewers in the US and Canada, but they do go as far as Australia, New Zealand, the Philippines. The more obscure, the better. Of course, I've got my buddy out in Thailand who watches me all the time. and it's always a pleasure to be engaging. Now, we're going to cross over the Edgware Road here and then straight down towards Manchester Square. So that's just a little detour off Connaught Street. Now, the Edgware Road has been home to the Middle Eastern community for years. This is where you get some amazing food. Oh my God, particularly Lebanese. So if you're looking for a really good kebab or some amazing pittas and gorgeous hummus, this is for you along here. And those shisha cafes. There's one, shisha in particular. Okay, little detour here. So an actual 3-bedroom flat here at Gloucester Place would set you back about £1,300 per week. And a studio flat for sale up here for £425,000. I always love looking at the real estate along here because it's so interesting to see. Oh, this one there, Park West, Marble Arch, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms to rent, £875 per week. And there is no shortage of renters, you guys. And every day, a new high-rise is going up. Not that many of us are going to be able to afford to buy, but alas. Beautiful neighbourhoods. This is Seymour Place now along here. Everyone, sometimes I often wonder, do people work anymore in London? The day I was along Richmond, I was absolutely fascinated. All the pubs along the river, it was the middle of the week, weekday, and they were all just chilling out in the pub on the river. I'm like, does anyone go to work anymore? It's so funny, isn't it? So I guess they're technically working from home. Another beautiful street here. Again, it's hard to imagine you're like 10 minutes only away from Oxford Street. These gorgeous little businesses along here again. Oh, actually, there's a very famous woman over here, lived over here. Let's cross over and I'll show you where she lived. This is very cool. Elizabeth Garrett Anderson was the very first woman to qualify as a doctor in Britain. She actually lived here. Well done, Elizabeth, paving the way for future female doctors and medics in the field of medicine. Elizabeth Garrett Anderson. Such a male-dominated world. What a remarkable woman at the time to break all the barriers. And we're gonna make a little pit stop over here. There's a memorial I wanted to show you, actually. Look at this little almost half crescent shape area. This is Wallenberg Place. And there's quite a few lovely hotels along here. Is that a Best Western? Western Marble? Oh no, that's a synagogue, you guys. Huge synagogue, which is quite fitting. Because this is one of the memorials. Hi. Memorial here. The Holocaust Memorial. So this is Wallenberg, who bravely helped save the lives of as many 100,000 men, women and children destined for the death camps, only because they were Jews. When in January 1945 Budapest fell to the Soviet army, Wallenberg was taken under guard to Moscow, where he vanished into the Soviet prison system. The last resting place of this selfless hero is unknown. So just the self-sacrifice of very famous chap. He saved over 100,000 lives during the Holocaust. And right behind it is a synagogue. Look at some of these homes, you guys. I mean, this is Upper Berkeley Street. This is the real cheese. I think a lot of them would have been converted into first, second, third ground floor flats. But some of them are privately owned buildings. Isn't that just incredible? A lot of old school money around here as well. Inherited money, which is always welcomed in a neighbourhood because the nouveau riche tend to annoy a lot of the residents in Mayfair, particularly when they arrive and they fly in their own supercars with them and they rev through the neighbourhoods. There's been a lot of complaints over the years. This is Nobu, you guys. A very famous Nobu restaurant here on Upper Berkeley Street. I believe they have one in LA as well. It's a big celebrity hotspot, Nobu Hotel. We're in Portman Square. Beautiful, beautiful place, but it's hidden from view actually, most of it. And just as we cross over, you guys, this is the very elegant Portman Square. Now, this area would have been the height of wealth in Regency London. Just a stunning square that was laid out between 1764 and 1784. And this is a beautiful house. This is Home House. Now, this is one of the finest examples of architecture that has existed since the 1770s, and it's called Home House because it was built after named after Elizabeth, Countess of Home. And the architect, of course, was well-renowned and infamous architect Robert Adam. Look at this stunning manor. Now, it used to hold the Courtauld Institute of Art in there up until 1989, but it's one of the finest examples of one of the original grand houses that was stood during that period. And you could imagine the ladies taking an elegant turn around this square. Now, Portman Square was actually itself laid out between 1764 and 1784 and would be part of what is the 100-acre Portman estate. And it's land that was occupied, well, it was owned by Henry VIII, and he bequeathed the land to Lord Chief Justice Portman in 1533. So this entire square, I just imagine the ladies in their beautiful Georgian dresses and the gentlemen in their very fancy attire taking a little, what do they say, a little turn around the gardens here, ladies and gents. Unfortunately, we can't get in there, but the Portman estate actually comprises about 110 acres, including Manchester Square, which is our next place, a much prettier, kind of a cul-de-sac square, a bit more private. And it also incorporates places like Gloucester Place and parts of Baker Street, still under the jurisdiction, would you believe, and owned by Christopher, who would be the 10th Viscount Portman. It's amazing, isn't it, the estates that they were still at the hands of these people that have passed down since the 16th century. Ladies and gents, I've just met the most random man. He said he was a holy man from India, and he was quite interesting. He said he could read my forehead. Now, maybe I'm a bit of a sucker for this kind of thing, but he asked me to give him my 3 most desired things in my life, and he said I have a lot of good luck coming my way. And he gave me a note, and he put it in my hand. And then he asked me to write down what I desired the most in my life, and everything he wrote down in the paper in front of him was exactly what was in my hand as he was writing. It was really bizarre. Now, he did ask me for 30 quid after that, but I told him I would donate money to the Bangladeshi community. I've literally got a spiritual reading from, well, he says he's an Indian guru, but I guess I'm a bit of a sucker for that kind of thing, which is quite fun. Look at these gorgeous places, aren't they beautiful? And we're going to head down in here into Manchester Square, this stunning estate, you guys. Now, I love this one because it's kind of like a little private square off a cul-de-sac down here. Now, this one was actually laid out between 1776 and 1788. And what I love about this is that you have this major scandal with regards to this area and the Dukes of Manchester. They commissioned this house, which was originally known as Manchester House, and then it was Hertford House. And it houses now the Wallace Collection. So that boasts literally a wide variety of artworks that were collected in the 18th and the 19th centuries by the Marquesses of Hertford. And Sir Richard Wallace himself was the son of the fourth Marquess of Hertford, but he was an illegitimate son. Now, he was denied by his father all his life, who would not accept him as his son and accept the paternity. However, in an ironic twist, when he eventually passed away, maybe it was just the guilt complex, he actually donated the entire family art collection and 60 acres of land he bequeathed to his illegitimate son, much to the absolute rage of his family, who intended to contest the will. So, despite ignoring him his entire life, he actually bequeathed the entire collection to him. Now, he still refused to take his father's name. He took his mother's maiden name, which was Wallace, and he eventually bought Hertford House off the fifth Marquess of Hertford, and he, inside, housed the collection in here. And I mean, wait till you see this exquisite collection, which is over 5,500 treasures inside here. And we're going to have a quick look around. Now, they're not going to be very happy about filming in there, so there's not an awful lot I can do about that. But before we do, I just want to show you one other address here, where this iconic image that you'll all know took place inside this house as well. So just bear with me a second before we head in there. So this amazing building right beside it, I actually had to ask the postman where it was. I thought it was on the other side. But it was very handy, the mailman was here. And this were the offices of EMI, you guys, stood here in the northwest corner of the square, and this is number 20. So it's Lazard's now, but it was where the Beatles posed for many's a famous photograph. It's the one of them looking down on the atrium, you know that one? From the, it was used on the cover of the album, the first album, Please Please Me. And in 1969, when the Beatles again were going for the hippie look, they posed again for the Get Back album. And that was actually subsequently on the Red and Blue compilation album. So the Beatles would have hung out here as well. Not only recording here, recording company, but they also hung out at many of the local pubs. But right now, we're headed in here to this incredible collection. Let's have a quick look around the Wallace Collection. So it truly is worth a visit. It's absolutely incredible in there, you guys. And I mean, amazing that it's free. I'm sorry I couldn't speak too much in there, but we just give you a highlight of what's available in there. Now we're going to head down one of the most beautiful shopping streets in London. We're heading down to Marylebone High Street. Again, one of those unique, special places that almost gives you like a village-like atmosphere outside of London, or maybe a little country town village just outside of London. Brown's Brides. Let's have a look at that. Let's see what the bride is like. For all your wedding needs, ladies. East de Lawn. Now this is the Hine Street Methodist Church. This church dates all the way back to 1810, but it's surprisingly large for this area, but there's so many large churches in the area. And that's a testament to the communities that lived here as well. And this one was James Weir, though. This dates back to 1887, originally 1810, but this is model, the newer model, 1887. So we'll keep walking down, and then I want to bring you to Marylebone High Street, but I want to take a couple of detours off the street. Again, it's just one of those really beautiful upmarket streets with beautiful boutiques and restaurants and cafes and wonderful bars in the area. But look at this area. I mean, it's just at the back again of Oxford Street, so it's worth your time. You see these lovely little quiet streets away from the hustle and bustle and the mania of London. And of course we have the ivy over here. I'm going to cross over because I don't want to be intrusive when they're eating outdoors. And then you also have St. John, which is very famous for its incredible fish and oysters and caviar. So the ivy, you never know who you'd spot along here. I think I saw one of the stars of Made in Chelsea there a couple of minutes ago as well. Look at this, look at this shop. Can we deal with this? Like, how incredible is this? Look at these hats, you guys. And this has got the largest ribbon collection of any store in the world, I believe. And this is Vivi Rouleau. Braids, ribbons, and trimmings. How beautiful is that? Don't know if they allow filming in there, but we'll have a look inside. So these very unique. Look at the fascinators. I'm sure they're super busy for a Royal Ascot. It's amazing. I mean, look how eclectic. I mean, how gorgeous is that in there? Sometimes I feel like I'm not living at all when you see these beautiful back streets of London with the most stunning restaurants and bars. So this is Cal de Slan, Marylebone. This is 108 Marylebone. So you know you're going to eat really well down here, you guys. And we're on Marylebone Lane now. I feel like this is completely pedestrianised as well. Now this is the one they are all gone wild for, by the way. So this is l'entrecôte. And the idea behind it is there's only one dish, which is steak and chips. And there is a Caesar salad as your entree. You pay a set price and all you get is steak and chips. But what they're most famous for is their particular steak sauce, and it's a secret recipe. You guys, in the next 4 or 5 hours, the queue for this place will be around the corner. Around the corner to get in there. They cannot keep up with the demand. Welcome, right around the corner, to Marylebone High Street, which features so many upscale boutiques along the way. But this gorgeous street, so much nicer for shopping than Oxford Street, because you can get around here. And we're going to make our way up here, because I want to take a little detour into Daunt Bookstore, my darlings. Now you'll see the energy, it's high energy around here. You have Sweaty Betty, Me and M, Aesop, the White Company is along here, so really nice brands of clothing. And some other unique British designers as well. Zadag and Voltaire are here, Sandra's here. So instead of the hustle and bustle and the craziness, why not come for this? And to this gorgeous little high street. Now, one of the things I love doing when I'm around here is the charity stores. This gentleman is taking a photograph here. So look at the Waitrose, Melbourne clock, Marylebone clock. Wolford, they do amazing tights and leggings. So we're going to take a little detour up here in a moment. I just want to show you Oh yes, we used to frequent this place, Marylebone. This was a great pub back in the day. I'm assuming it still is. But right down here, I want to take you just on a little detour. Let me take you inside here, this beautiful little delicatessen, La Fromagerie. And we'll head inside the refrigerated cheese store, La Fromagerie. They do the best sandwiches in here, you guys. You have no idea. Now, I just wanted to take you off the side street because one of these hidden gems that are down here that only local Londoners would know about. Now, this very much reminds me of Hampstead, this immediate area here. Vin, fin et délicieux de France, de Français. So this is Paddington Street Gardens. Look at this little hidden gem. God, they really have it down, don't they, in Marylebone. You know, there's quite a bit of history attached to this area. A wonderful little playground for the kids. Nice shaded area as well. Look at this. A little quiet oasis. Away from everything and everyone. Can we deal with this? We're in Ashland Place. Look at this little bandstand. Oh, I was wondering what I was seeing. It's gorgeous. I saw a pigeon moving. I thought it was going to be like a rat or a mouse or something. I was a bit scared. And if ping pong is your thing, look at this. There are your little ping pong games here. So this is a great place to just escape the world. I've been walking a lot today, but that's okay. I do love a good walk, as you well know, around London. It's gorgeous, gorgeous. A little quiet oasis, away from everything. Amazing to think that this was also St. George's burial ground. And from 1731 to around 1857, over 80,000 souls were interred here. So every part of London, as peaceful and pleasant as it is, always has that little bit of history of death and destruction. So a burial ground originally, but just a lovely little hidden gem of an open square. So we're going to take a little detour again. We're going back down Moxon Street. So I want to take you up the side street, because on this square would also have been a workhouse that we know that were conditions for the poor. So this area wasn't always as affluent as it looks to this day. It was at one time or another a horrendous slum, and it actually had a ragged children's school in the neighbourhood, and we're going to see a little bit of that now in a moment. Now, you had wonderful philanthropists in the area, and I guess one of the more famous is the incredible Octavia Hill, and she invested millions of pounds in social housing in this country. She was also responsible for the establishment of the National Trust. So I just want to show you the plaque here down Garbett Place. It's dedicated to Octavia Hill, and just a wonderful philanthropist, housing reformer. And the work she did for the impoverished in this country was just remarkable. She began her work here, co-founder of the National Trust, but we're going to take a little detour up here. I'll show you remnants of some of the history of the slums in this immediate area as well. We'll take a small detour down the side street. But do you notice how quiet it is? We're heading up this passageway here. Down Grotto Passage. Around the back will take us to what would originally have housed a ragged school for the children in the area and the impoverished in the area. Now there is one particularly in Whitechapel I want to take you to as well. I featured it on one of my haunted series of haunted tours. So here you have some of the remnants. There's the boys' entrance. It was the Grotto Ragged and Industrial School that was established in 1846. And we have the girls and infants entrance. Now it's estimated that over 300,000 children passed through these ragged schools, and it's where they were the most impoverished of society in the area were given an education and the opportunity for an education. And continuing on, I want to take you down this old passageway. Seems rather creepy here, but it's going to take us back out on to Marylebone High Street. And from there, we're going to head up to, well, where Marylebone Church was located. But we're going to take one slight other detour. It's going to take us right down here, back onto the High Street. And then I want to show you where Marylebone Church was located. Another church there of the Good Shepherd and St. Mary Le Bourne. Again, St. Mary's on the Bourne, the Tybourne, which would have been the river, which is completely covered over now, but still flows underground. And this beautiful street yet again. Tell me you're not in love with this neighborhood as much as I am. Now, we're going to head into Daunt's Bookstore. That's going to be our next stop. And we've arrived to one of the most famous bookstores in London, ladies and gents. Probably the most Instagrammed in the UK. This is the incredible Daunt Bookstore. Probably one of the prettiest places on Marylebone High Street. Let's take a little look inside. Now, we'll start again. I had already done Daunt's Bookstore, so I've just squeezed that into the video because I wanted you to see the interior of this amazing place. But here we have Carlotta, which is an amazing place to eat here in Marylebone as well. And very, very popular, an institution in the area. Actually, it's the toilets in there are kind of the highlight. Now you have Devonshire Street. Now this is the Prince Regent. Oh my God, this brings so many memories back. For a period of time, I lived upstairs there many moons ago. Big shout out to my cousin Shane Burns in Australia. We've had many's a good time in there in our 20s, working in the Prince Regent. I lived upstairs as well because he ran the pub and he lived up there with his family, and that's where our little Fionn was born, who is now 19 years of age. How crazy. And this was an amazing time. So much fun. Many, many moons ago. Let me talk about one of the greatest. Look at this. These little back mews and these street stable homes now. Straight in. Around the churchyard. Of St. Mary Le Bourne. Oh, this is a beautiful memorial garden of rest. We're going to have a quick look here. There's this quaint little area Just a little dedication. It's called the Memorial Garden of Rest, right behind the original location of the site of St. Mary Le Born. And I'm going to head there. So it's on the former site of the original church, which is 1400s, and then Francis Bacon was married here. William Hogarth portrayed the interior of the church in 1735. James Gibbs, the architect pupil of Wren, was buried here in 1754. Richard Brinsley Sheridan married Miss Linley here in 1773. Charles Wesley, brother of John Wesley of the Methodist movement, 1788. Lord Byron was baptized here, and Lord Nelson worshipped here. And Horatio, his only child, was baptized here in 1803. So that is some of the facts about this church, but I have an amazing story to tell you. And we're going to do that where I can sit down and talk to you a little bit about one of the most tragic and beautiful of all Victorian stories. And this is an extension of the former church of the Garden of Memorial Rest. So let's take a little breather here, my lovelies. But this is where it all began. So the much larger replacement that was built to replicate the St. Mary's was extensively damaged during World War II, actually, in the Blitz in World War II. But it's here where 45-year-old Sir Francis Bacon, philosopher and statesman, married his 14-year-old bride in St. Mary's in 1606. And it's also where Lord Nelson, now Nelson's illegitimate daughter was Horatio, and he was absolutely obsessed with her. She was baptized here in 1803. Now, she was already 2 years old when she was baptized, and of course his mistress at the time was his married mistress, Emma Hamilton. So to avoid a scandal at the time, they concocted a story that Horatio's father was Vice Admiral Charles Thompson, with her real parents named as her godparents. But there's evidence of letters he wrote to his daughter Horatio, and he was completely obsessed with her during all of his battles, and particularly during the Battle of Trafalgar. But I suppose one of the most beautiful stories of this area, my favourite story of them all, features the poets Robert Browning and Elizabeth Barrett. They were secretly married in this church on the 12th of September in 1846. Now, Elizabeth Barrett was another contemporary amazing poet of her day. And when Robert Browning wrote her poems, he instantly fell in love with her and he reached out to her. Now, Elizabeth Barrett, as a young girl, she had a spinal injury and she was bedridden. Her father was overly protective of her. But eventually when they met, they fell hopelessly in love and they eloped. And she lived in Italy with him, and her health actually improved dramatically when they were there. And they lived together despite their father's disapproval for many a year. But amazing to think they fell together, they fell in love through each other's poetry, and they enjoyed 15 years of a happy marriage before Elizabeth eventually died in Robert's arms. Her famous works is sonnets from the Portuguese, and some of the best known lines that you'll be familiar with. I mean, the one in particular is, and it's just beautiful. How do I love thee? Let me count the ways. I love thee to the depth and breadth and height my soul can reach when feeling out of sight for the ends of being an ideal grace. So immortalized in many's a movie and a painting, their love affair. I mean, just an incredible love story. So on that note, I am going to leave you, my darlings. I hope you enjoyed this. I know it was a pretty long one, but what a special place. I'm actually concocting my own new tour that I can bring around here. So for right now, in the churchyard of the rebuilt St. Mary Le Born, St. Mary's Church, it's Sinead signing out. Have a fabulous day, my lovelies. Hope you enjoyed this one. If only I had as many subscribers as I had viewers. please, please, ladies and gents, if you like this video, please subscribe. It's free of charge. There's a little bell icon. You have no idea how much it helps me. And for any of you watching that have done a private tour with me, I'm going to ask a favor. Would you mind putting up a TripAdvisor review for me with 5 stars if you enjoyed it? And that really does help out for me as well for pushing these tours. And I would be very grateful. Thanks for watching, you darlings. And I will see you all very soon, signing out at Marleyville.